welcome back to the podcast, the now Gotham and Beyond podcast, going a little bit of a rebranding here after talking to some people and trying to keep things straight here as far as the podcast goes. Now, I have the blog gotham-database.com where I was doing DC write ups and things like that and just integrating things for my game. So today I wanted to talk about how I'm going to change things up. I've been talking about G.I. Joe lately and adding it into my universe, and a bunch of people were like, well, G.I. Joe really wasn't in DC. Technically, it was for 2 issues back during the World War II time period called G.I. Joe and the Classic Showcases. Larry Hama, well, it wasn't during the World War II, it was afterwards, but Larry Hama was involved in writing the comics. So they did a whole bunch of Sergeant Savage things inside the comics. So G.I. Joe did have its own little connection. Granted, it was very brief. But anyway, I was talking to a bunch of people, and I was like, well, I have my one podcast I do, and it's all about Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And that's all people want to hear on that channel. Now here, I want to talk about everything else. As far as, games I'm playing, stories I have from games I'm playing with my buddies, and everything from tabletop RPGs. Like, I just was running a game the other day. After talking about all the G.I. Joe stuff, I wanted to see how it would work if I had, a character in the GM and just see how it was. So we made up the character Flint from G.I. Joe, and one of my buddies was playing him, so I was being the GM here. So I wanted to see if I could do what we would call back in the day one-on-one solo gaming, but solo gaming is taking on its new term, so I can't say that exactly, so it's just a one-on-one thing. So the mission briefing was, Flint has been assigned to a covert mission in the dense jungles of South America. Intelligence reports indicate that Cobra has set up a hidden research facility deep inside the rainforest, possibly developing experimental weaponry. His orders are to infiltrate, gather intel, and, if necessary, sabotage their operations. Little did Flint know that there was a little bit of a twist going on here, and it was going to be more than what he thought here. So I started Flint currently deep in the jungle, approaching the suspected location of the facility. I said the terrain was rough, the air was thick with humidity because, South America, and he hears a distant sound of wildlife along with some mechanical and barely audible over the rustling of leaves. So I asked him what he wanted to do. So he said, well, I'm going to try to find a vantage point for observation to figure out what the noise is. So I gave him a couple options of, where could he go. And I told him he had this, a high point that he can climb up a tree and take a look around. And he did, and I had him do some rolling for, perception and things like that. And in his perception, so Flint, from his perception, sees from this concealed position, he sees a heavily guarded perimeter around what looks like a makeshift Cobra research outpost. There are two on patrol with automatic rifles, a small communications tower that he could see, a large tent with equipment and crates nearby. There's also a Jeep and a truck parked near there, and some type of building facility with a lock on it and 2 guards standing there. So I asked him what he wanted to do next. He decided he was going to go and try to sneak inside the encampment without being seen. So I had him roll to see if he can do that and get inside the encampment. He successfully got inside it by doing overwhelming success on that. And I described he moves like a shadow, avoiding patrols with expert precision. And, they're just Cobra guards, so they can give 2 craps half the time what's going on. He finds a partially covered drainage tunnel that leads under a fence, emerging near a supply crate within the outpost perimeter. He's remaining unseen behind these little crates, and he's looking around. And I'm describing the scene to him. You're looking around the base, and you can see a single guard standing nearby smoking a cigarette, a Cobra soldier. There, you hear a communications tent off to the side with radio chatter coming out of it, but it's hard to make out what's going on. There's a truck with supplies on. There's a truck with some supplies, and it looks like a transport vehicle as well. The engine is still purring a little bit. There's also a large research tent where scientists in Cobra uniforms are discussing something, but you're unsure because it's too far away. So I asked him what his next move was going to be. So then he asked me, well, before I make a move, I want to look around again. Is there anyone near this lone guard so that if I take him out, he'll get noticed? I was like, yeah, that's a great question. Looking around the camp, the lone guard is standing near the crates facing away from you, so his back is to you. He's unaware. There are no other guards in the immediate line of sight. There are 2 patrols moving around on the set path around the perimeter of the camp, so it looks like they may make their way around this way eventually and see the guard. The patrol passed by in about, I think I determined it was like 30 seconds or so. So it gave him a short window to really react and not get spotted. The communications tent is about 15 feet away with at least one Cobra officer inside there that he saw. The research tent is another 20 feet further, partially open, where scientists are reviewing what looked like some type of blueprints or something. He wasn't sure from his vantage point. So I said, what did you want to do? Did you want to take out the guard or sneak somewhere else? So he decided he wanted to stealthily take down the guard and pull him behind the crates. He pulled him behind the crates and he was able to knock him out. And then he said to me, well, can I put his uniform on? So I kind of looked. The average soldier, Cobra soldiers, not, too big, but they're not like, fat people or anything like that. And yeah, the suit would fit a little bit tight, but it wouldn't notice. The average person wouldn't notice, but you're going to need to roll disguise. So he's like, all right. So he grabs the uniform, he puts it on, tries to make it convincing. He rolls a decent success on it. So, it's enough that he can pass by walking around as a Cobra soldier. If he knows how to play the part, he can, kind of get away with it. He has a coat on. So, maybe it'll work. I don't know. We're going to try to find out. Flint also decides that he's going to search him while he still has a few more moments and behind the crates. So I asked him how long he was going to spend. He said, I'm going to spend a good couple minutes looking through his pockets, his helmet, things like that. So he actually finds, let's see here. He finds a Cobra ID badge, which basically gets him into the non-secure areas if there was any. It's kind of like an ID badge, but it had no name on it. Then there was a key card, probably for a restricted access area, and it just said restricted on it. So he kind of thought maybe that was for going into like different areas that he wasn't allowed to go into. He found a radio communicator inside the helmet that he can use and listen to the patrol chatter, which should have been easy to pick out anyway. And he had a crude hand-drawn map showing the layout of the camp, which indicates a secure storage area, possibly holding weapons or classified data or more. That kind of intrigued him to the point that he wasn't sure what to do. So I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to head to the research tent, the secure storage area that you got intrigued by, go to the communications tent and listen, or maybe use the radio to send false reports? He was like, I'm going to go to the research tent and pretend to be on patrol while listening. Okay, so he has a decent chance of doing this. He has his uniform on. He's walking in. He walks inside the tent, and he starts to listen as he's standing there, pretending to be on patrol. He hears mentions of Project Venom, a new bioweapon designed to enhance Cobra soldiers using mutagenic compounds. Shipment plans. A transport will be leaving in a couple hours, heading towards a remote airstrip for delivery. Special prisoner. One scientist mentions that a captured G.I. Joe operative is being held in a secure storage area, awaiting transport to Cobra headquarters for interrogation. So, and then I decided I asked him, "Are you going to continue to listen?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to continue to listen, but try not to make it obvious." So I did a couple rolls, and one of the scientists just happened to look over his shoulder and notice him, and kind of thought he was out of place. And he's like, the scientist looks up, he says, "Hey, you, did they send you to go check on the prisoner, or are you just standing there for fun?" So Flint, standing there, had a couple options either was to salute him, or feign radio chatter and run off. I don't know, punch him, just stand there like an idiot, or kind of just play along and follow the map. So he decided to play along. He got a decent success on that, and he did a whole. He said his thing was, yeah, they sent me to check on the prisoner. HQ wants an update before transport, and he got his bluff through. The scientist really didn't question him at all, really, and just waves his hand at him and kind of says, "Typical, you grunts always need confirmation." Whatever. He's still in secure area storage, locked up tight. Just don't mess with the containment unit. You guys barely know how to tie your own darn boots. Flint just went, yes, sir, and kept walking, and he was going to head towards the security. Well, I can't talk today. Secure storage area without really raising suspicion because he's got permission to pretty much go there now. Various people heard that. So I gave him a chance. I said, do you want to go or do you want to kind of linger around now the guys aren't paying attention? He's like, well, you know what? I'm really interested to see who is in this secure storage area. What Joe has been captured that we don't know about. So using the map, Flint kind of makes a navigation type role, and because it's a crude map, so he has to kind of look at the vantage point, the waypoints on this little map hand drawn, basically to get to where he wants to go. So he walks up to the secure storage area and he sees two soldiers standing there on guard. They were bored, but they are alert enough to question him. And one of the guards go, oh, what now? Orders change or something? What are you doing here? So I gave what is Flint's options here. He decided that, well, he's going to say, yes, I'm here to guard the prisoner for now. They need you up by the research tent for a project. So he's going to be bluffing and trying to fool these guys again. So he rolls a bluff check. He barely passes the bluff check, like barely. So I give it to him, and the two guards just look at each other, and they just went, I don't know. And then I say, figures are always pulling us off a post for the stupid projects. Fine, you take over, just don't let the prisoner get any stupid ideas about escaping. And without further questions, the guards walk off as if they really don't care. And they really don't at this point. Most of those guards don't care. So Flint, standing around, now he has the secure area all to himself, looks around. There is no one paying attention to him based on his situation where he is, because it's all the way on the far end of the camp. So there's really no one that could see him, so to speak, because it's in a remote area. So he decides to look at the keys in his pocket, the restricted one, and swipe it on the metal door. Boop, it opens up. He goes inside, closes the door behind him. He sees some locked crates, weapon racks, reinforced holding cell in the back. Inside the cell is a slumped over body of the G.I. Joe captive. So his uniform is ripped, his hands are cuffed to the bench, but he looks up as Flint enters and gives him like a weak smirk. Took you long enough. So what does Flint do now? Flint responds with, or he asks, is there any cameras in here before he moves any further? And I did some rolling randomly to see, and there was no cameras in there at all. So he pulls down his mask, and he says, hey, it's me, Flint. We need to figure our way out of here. And as he gets closer, the Joe that he sees is actually Lieutenant Falcon. And this would actually kind of fit because Lieutenant Falcon was from the movie. He was a goof off. He often did things. He was lazy. He would probably be the one to get caught. My friend kind of groaned because no one really likes Lieutenant Falcon. That was the Don Johnson character from the animated movie of G.I. Joe. So Falcon looks up and says, oh, it's about time. And then Flint's like, keep your voice low. They don't know. He pulls his mask back up and he goes, we need to figure a way out of here. So there's a couple things. Flint and Falcon kind of exchange information as he's uncuffing him. Because Falcon's unarmed and in rough shape, but he's still okay to move around. He says they were going to transfer me to Cobra headquarters in a few hours. There's a transport truck outside. might be our best bet if we move quickly and quietly. I also overheard talk about a bioweapon project. Something about Project Venom sounded bad. Oh, and they took my gear. Any chance you saw it stashed around here? Flint really didn't pay attention to the gear part. He was more worried about getting caught. So he peered outside the security storage area out a window to see if there was anybody around that noticed anything and what was in the area. About 50 feet away was the near the camp's outer fence area, near the door, was the truck, the transport truck, and two Cobra troopers standing by the truck, one leaning against it while smoking, the other one pacing nearby because they were bored. The back of the truck is closed. They locked it and required probably a keycard access, which Flint assumed he had in his pocket. Beyond the truck, the jungle trails lead out of the base. This might be the best, quickest exit based on what he's looking. But there is patrol still roaming, and none of them actively looking at the truck or in this general direction. But eventually, a patrol will come around to this secure area. It's just a matter of time. So the window is really closing fast, I told him. So Flint decides, okay, Flint will pretend to be transporting Falcon to the truck and load him into the truck and try to drive away as if he's doing the transport. So he says to him, act like you're cuffed and play along. Falcon nods slightly, slumping his posture to appear weakened from captivity. Flint walks Falcon out of the secure storage area, marching him towards the transport truck with the air of a soldier following direct orders. As they approach the two Cobra guards by the truck, the one smoking looks up and frowns. What's this? Ain't he supposed to be waiting for a real transfer? So now Flint has to do a act with confidence or a bluff or something to try to get past this guard. He does. He passes very easily. Flint grunts with annoyance, and he basically tells him, HQ wants this processed early. You got a problem with that? Take it up with the brass. The smoking guard kind of just shrugs. No one tells us nothing around here. Whatever. The other guard goes, fine. Get him loaded up. Just don't scratch the damn truck. They step aside. He loads Falcon into the truck with the key card, gets into the truck, and then starts to drive down the driveway, which I asked him for a drive roll to see if he can contain his composure and drive the truck like a normal Cobra soldier, which he was just barely able to do because he didn't have drive. But in my games, if it's a modern day, anybody can drive. And seeing that Flint's in the military, he's going to know how to drive a truck. So he kept his cool barely because he got a bunch of doubles on this roll. And he went to the gate, and the Cobra soldiers kind of waved him out. And he started heading down the road towards the extraction point where he was told to meet up after he completed his mission. While he didn't get all the information he needed, he did manage to get in there and recover a captured Joe, which in itself is better than intel probably. Saving one of a fellow Joes is better. So they're rolling down the road, and they ask what's next, and Flint has to do a navigation roll to see if he remembers where the rendezvous point was. So he does, and he kind of fails. And then he's driving a little bit more while listening to the radio. There are no alarms going off yet, so Cobra has no idea. He's probably a good mile or so away from the base. And then suddenly he hears a check for the secure area. I guess it's the round guard check, the round time guard check or whatever, check in. Nobody responds, and you hear a team sending over. The clock is now ticking. Then it's only a matter of minutes before they find it out. I have Flint roll a navigation roll again, and this time he figures out where he has to go. He's got another solid 10 minutes before he gets there. So I ask him what he wants to do. And he said, well, if we're about 2 miles from the base, and even if they do find out that we're gone, it's going to take them a while to respond, and I didn't see any air traffic, anything air-wise. So even if they grab a vehicle and start heading down this road, we still got a 2 mile head start on them. So I'm just going to drive at a faster pace while maintaining safety with myself and Falcon. So, all right, I have him roll again. He doesn't have a driving skill, so he's rolling again. He rolls fine this time. He rolls up on the rendezvous point, and he sees the helicopter with the Joes in there. So I asked him what you want to do, because you can't just roll up on them. They're going to probably start lighting them up because they see Cobra branded stuff. Flint changes the station to the Joe frequency and communicates with the helicopter group, telling them that it's him in the truck with Lieutenant Falcon recovered, and get ready to take off ASAP because Cobra's not too far behind. So he jumps into they jump out of the vehicle, jump into the helicopter, and take off ASAP. And that was pretty much the end of the adventure there for good old Flint. He didn't have much more to do at this point, and it was a good stopping point because I was running this at lunch during work. So all in all, we figured out that debriefing the team about Project Venom and Cobra's plans, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Plan a counter operation to stop Cobra's bioweapon, probably the next mission, and maybe take a break for a little while Flint and Falcon kind of recover. So we didn't really meet any new NPCs as far as the only thing but Lieutenant Falcon was it. But I think the next mission, Flint will go out, and maybe I'll use Falcon with him because he's a new NPC he met. I kind of had him written up already, so it's a good idea to see how it would work. And yeah, that's the mission. We had a lot of fun. It took about a little less than an hour to do all this, and I think it was a good time. So I hope to play this again. Maybe I'll talk about a different. I'm thinking about playing GI Joe with Master Book rules. I think it was. So I'd like to really see how that works because the Master Book rules was a system that was invented by West End Games in the 90s. The Indiana Jones game was it, Tank Girl, Tales from the Crypt, were to name a few that actually used those rules. It didn't do too well for playing. West End Games put all their eggs into the basket for using this system, thinking it was going to be better, quicker, faster, and more tailored to gaming. While it kind of was in a way, people really didn't buy it. People wanted the Star Wars system, the D6 Star Wars system. They didn't want it. And from talking to various people in West End Games that were left over from that time period, they were very split about it. Half the office wanted the original D6, the other half was in the basket of this Master Book. Now, the Master Book rules aren't terrible, they're just a little bit complex. And now the Master Book rules are kind of back because there is a gentleman that owns the company for it, and it's Precise Intermedia .net, where he goes over all these different. He bought all these different out of print games, and Master Book happened to be one of them that fell to the side. And I guess he got a hold of the rights for it, and he's been taking and republishing all the things that were like Shatter Zone and Blood Shadows and things. All use the Master Book system, so he's revamped it and kind of made it modernized. And what he did was make this thing called Master Book Easy Rules, which is a chopped down light version of Master Book. And I took a read through it, and it's not that complicated. It's actually pretty simple to use. So I figured I want to use that and see what I can do for any type of game, as far as fantasy or anything, because I think it'd be a great time to do. A great game. I like playing solo for the simple fact of learning new systems. I have something which is called Gamer ADD, where I sometimes get this itch to play a certain game, even though I'm playing a certain game with a group, and people don't like to just boop, switch, boop, another one, boop, no one likes to do that. When I was a kid, when we played games, we basically played a different game every single day. One day was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. One day was Robotech. One day was AD&D. The next day it was Village of Vigilantes. The next day was this. So we played different games every day of the week when we were, in high school and junior high. After school, we'd go right over to my friend's house, right over to his basement, and we'd play games. It was just that easy. I mean, now that I'm an adult, I have work, I have responsibilities, I have a family. They have there first, and then gaming second. Podcasting is third. So I get to play a game, once a week, which I'm grateful for with a group, and then twice a month. No, that'd be 4 times a month. 4 times a month, I get to play a game, but they're two different games going at once because they're two different groups. And I can't just be like in the middle 1 week. Okay, guys, thanks for playing. D&D. We're playing. Oh, I don't know, DC Heroes this week, or we're going to be playing Star Wars today. But next week we're going to play Starship Troopers. People don't like that. A lot of people don't like changing games that often, or often at all. In fact, one of my friends at work that I talk to, all his friends want to do is play D&D 5th edition. They don't want to play anything else. They'll just end one campaign and roll right into another one. While I really don't understand that, that's their jam. That's what they want to do. So I don't know. Anyway, back to that. I think the next episode I'm going to talk about the master book system here at the Gotham and Beyond podcast, where we will talk about that. But you can go to gotham-database.com and just see the write-ups I do for DC Heroes as I get. I don't know what I'm going to do with the podcast as far as putting it on its own proper site or just leaving it here on Spotify and YouTube as well, because you can check me out on YouTube under Gotham and Beyond. I think it's just Gotham Beyond at YouTube. You'll find me there. Anyway, I'm going to head out. I want you to have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on the Gotham and Beyond podcast.